It is often said that dreams shaped destiny. In the port city of Genoa, Italy, where the cries of gulls mingled with the salty air and the laughter of sailors, it was a dream that quietly took root in the heart of a boy named Christopher Columbus. Born to a woolcomber's humble household in the mid-15th century, Columbus grew up surrounded not by wealth, but by stories. Every day, he watched ships from foreign lands float into Genoa's bustling harbor, their hulls heavy with spices and silk, their sails billowing like the hopes of those on board. Every arrival was a promise that there was a world beyond the horizon, a world untamed, mysterious, and full of possibilities. Now, let us begin this amazing journey into the depths of Columbus's life and the dream that changed history. While his father gently taught him the trade of wool combing, Columbus's heart was already stolen by the sea. He listened, rapt, as old sailors spun tales of lands bathed in perpetual sunlight and cities paved with gold. He heard, too, how monsters sometimes haunted the unknown waters, how storms could dash ships and hopes alike against unseen rocks. Yet, far from fear, these stories kindled in him a fierce longing. Someday, he promised himself, I will not only hear stories of distant worlds, I will walk their shores. And so he devoted himself to learning, with the encouragement of his parents, who, though poor, believed in education. Columbus attended school, learning to read and write, and, above all, to calculate. Arithmetic, geography, and drawing fascinated him more than anything. He would hungrily devour any account of foreign kingdoms, poring over maps and charts as if they were secret letters addressed only to him. The University of Pavia became his first threshold to the wider world, where the stars and the waves were given names, and where he tasted, for the first time, the scientific marvels that would equip him for nautical mastery. By the tender age of 14, destiny called to him more strongly than ever. He joined a ship bound for the East Indies, and thus began a lifetime shaped by adventure and ordeal. The sea was no kinder to him than to any sailor, and Columbus saw firsthand the caprice of wind and wave. He survived storms and shipwrecks, faced down pirates and hunger, and yet, for every hardship, the desire to go farther only grew. Every journey expanded the geography of his mind. He learned not just navigation, but persistence, and the resiliency born only from survival. Genoa remained his roots, but his wings unfolded in Portugal. The city of Lisbon, humming with the energy of navigators and cartographers, drew Columbus like a lodestone. There, joining his brother Bartholomew, whose maps charted known and imagined seas, Columbus found an environment alive with possibility. He studied the latest discoveries, mastered Latin, Portuguese, and Castilian, and absorbed the subtle art of gathering support for grand ventures. In the alleyways and harbors, daring men dreamed aloud of sailing ever farther. New trade routes beckoned, fortunes awaited, and the limits of the world itself felt poised to give way beneath the courage of those who tried. But dreams alone did not buy ships nor crew. For many years, Columbus lived on the edges of hope, trying to convince merchants, nobility, and monarchs of his bold idea that it was possible to reach the fabled Far East, not by sailing south and east as the Portuguese did, but by daring to head west, straight across the unending blue. In their salons and courts, advisors scoffed at his calculations, dismissed his courage as folly. The world, they insisted, was too vast, the Atlantic too empty or full of monsters. the risks beyond reason. But he had seen the tides, measured the stars, and, above all, he believed. There were times the weight of disappointment pressed on him, so heavy that the dream almost drowned beneath the surface of daily struggle. He traveled to Spain, with nothing to his name but a young son and his enduring conviction. On many hungry nights, he knocked at monastery doors, in search of a meal and a sympathetic ear. Still, stubborn hope flickered. It was in one such moment, tired and desperate, that he crossed paths with a learned monk who perceived the depth of his vision and sensed the larger fate for which Columbus lived. It was this monk's advocacy that finally opened a door to Queen Isabella of Spain, one of the only people who would listen with an open mind. Even then, political worries and endless debates kept Columbus waiting, suspended between anticipation and despair. Yet, despite heartbreak and delay, Isabella's imagination was kindled. The Queen saw, in Columbus, not merely an odd navigator, but a man whose faith in his own destiny could perhaps alter the destiny of Spain and the world. Through all these years, the young boy from Genoa, no longer a child, had become a man forged in adversity and hope. His nights were restless with visions of endless sea and golden cities, of island kingdoms and people he could only dream about. History would later reveal the tragedies that mingled with triumph. But in these years of uncertainty, it was the purity of the dream that sustained him, the belief that by sailing into the unknown, he might return not only with riches but with the gift of new worlds, discoveries that no man in Europe had ever imagined seeing. In 1492, granted 3 small ships and a chance at immortality, Columbus prepared for what the world would one day call the Age of Discovery. In that moment, he carried with him not just maps, instruments, and crew, but the entirety of a lifetime's longing, the hopes of his childhood, the lessons of struggle, and the unshakable certainty that the horizon itself was only the beginning. As we look back on Columbus and his first dreams, it is easy to see both the innocent wonder of childhood and the steel of adult determination. We glimpse a boy who yearned to touch other continents, and a man who proved that even impossibly distant shores can be reached if the heart dares to dream loud enough. His journey, in all its complexities, calls us to listen even now to the simple, transformative power of a dream. It is a lesson as enduring as the tides that once beckoned a woolcomber's son from Genoa, that the world belongs, not to those who wait for certainty, but to those who dare to set sail.